Hey there, hi there, ho there, I'm as welcome as I can be. M-I-C-K-E-Y.
O-U-S-E?
No, there's an M. No.
More M's?
Yes, more M's.
More M's.
So, greetings, fellow rewriters. It's time for the One More Rewrite podcast. Back from a little bit of a summer hiatus, and we'll be releasing those summer wrap-up videos / audios as we go along. But for now, we've got a little bit of talk for you, from Angry Birds movie trailer to Prometheus rumors to, well, actually not rumors, but casting stuff from Ghostbusters and other such things, including talk about a little bit of the passing of some famous director and, famous to us, I guess. I don't know if many people know him, old school Disney star. And plus a little bit of thoughts on the new Muppets TV show that has come out, and that critical reaction to that. And, of course, your favorites with the TGFV, Thank God for Video, and movies that needed a rewrite. So, yeah, now that we're launching into it, I don't know, where would you like to start?
Start at the top.
Okay. Well, then just let's talk real quick about the Angry Birds movie trailer.
Right.
And, well, obviously based off of the video game franchise that's popular on your iPhone and many others, smartphones across the country.
Smartphones around the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have Angry Birds. I mean, I do, like, on our Kindle at home, and I don't recall if it's one of those free-to-play, but you have to pay for upgrade type things, or whatever.
Over time kind of became that, and it's kind of... I didn't care for the upgraded version where you can buy upgrades. You know?
The free-to-play with air quotes, yeah.
Right. You can still play it straight, though, which is... it's still a fun game.
Yeah.
Nice little puzzle game, I guess, after... spending all night, one night trying to beat every level. It's kind of got addictive at first for me, and then over time it kind of just became, Angry Birds, that's fun. So it doesn't, I think, have the cash that it once did. I don't think that people are quite as crazy about the Angry Birds as they used to be.
I remember 5-6 years ago, when I was working at the grocery store, there was, mixed in with all the Christmas stuff, there was a whole ton of Angry Birds stuff just everywhere.
We had
plushies.
Angry Bird plushes at Blockbuster.
Yeah. It was
Angry
crazy.
Birds were everywhere.
So it feels weird that they're making a movie now. I'm not sure if that's just because of the Hollywood cycle where, this is a great idea, let's hop on it.
To make a movie.
For Hollywood, hopping on an idea is 5-6 years down the line after its popularity has peaked. I mean, they're still in the consciousness of the public fairly well, so it's not like they've disappeared.
And I think there's quite a few people that still enjoy playing Angry Birds, Angry Birds 2, Angry Birds Star Wars, Angry Birds Rio.
Yeah, Angry Birds the Flamethrower.
What is it, Bad Pigs?
Bad Pigs, yeah. There's so many spin-offs.
Incredibly difficult. I tried to play Bad Pigs. Man, that one's hard.
You gotta up the ante. But it just... I don't know. Are people looking forward to a new Angry Birds product, this time in the form of a movie? I mean, I saw the trailer. It looks kind of funny, but it doesn't look like...
It looks like fun. It's just, I don't know if there's enough Angry Birds people around anymore to say, I love Angry Birds. I'm going to go see the Angry Birds movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's the group of people big enough to make it, a big movie.
But
although it does look like fun. It looks
like fun. I'll give it that. It looks funny. It's a kid's movie, obviously, or a family movie.
Yeah,
animated family movie. And traditionally, video game movies haven't done well and haven't done the plot well. What little or none there is of it, this being a puzzle game. I mean, as we all know, the only good and well-done video game movie is the original Mortal Kombat.
Right.
And that's just basically because, what happens? Well, they fight each other for about an hour and a half, and then he fights the big bad, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Which is all you really need anyway. You need a couple of well-shot...
Not a whole lot of plot there, but you didn't need a plot. You just wanted to watch people fight each other.
Yeah, basically, which was what it was. Like, what's happening now? I don't know. Is this somehow motivating the character, moving them forward? Who cares? They're fighting! Yeah, and that's what it got right. So I don't know where there is to go with Angry Birds to develop the story and character, but it looks like they have each little bird with its own name and personality and all that, so...
And a bunch of people in there that you've got starring in it. Josh Gad is the one that springs to mind. Yeah. But you've got, some celebrity voices in there and kind of a fun story. And, I know how you feel about celebrity voices. I do. I mean, wish that we could have Billy West just voice everything.
I do. Billy West.
And Maurice LaMarche.
LaMarche. And I was going to say, who else? The other guy does everything. Frank Welker.
Right, yeah.
And wasn't there rumors, too, of like a voice cast.
Kevin Conroy. Yeah,
Kevin Conroy.
Have him in there.
There's supposed to be some stirring, too, of a possible strike from the voice actors.
Really?
Coming up. Yeah. That's just like stuff in the background. If there's more to talk about there, we will talk about it, but there's been rumors floating around now that the voice actors union might go on strike, specifically for video games and cartoon shows, because they just aren't getting paid what they think they're worth. And personally, although I'm not a fan of unions, I think that these days real voice actors, not actors just doing voices, for those of you who know what I mean, they're criminally underused these days. You have anyway, that's my own little hobby.
I agree. I'd go see a movie with an animated film with Billy West and Maurice LaMarche doing the main character voices in a hot second. Yeah, but
but nobody who are those people? Like, oh, good, it has Ben Stiller voicing the lion. I'll go see that.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
Like, to me, these are the people that deserve to have their name over the title. Like, these are huge stars that just people don't know. Yeah, so.
Yeah, like the voice of your childhood, starring people that you don't know but should know.
Yeah, exactly.
Really. But anyway, Angry Birds movie trailer. It should...
Ooh, Peter Cullen.
And
Peter Cullen in there?
We haven't mentioned Peter Cullen, and we should. Voice of Optimus Prime, and several other things. When you look him up, you'd be surprised what else Peter Cullen has voiced, not just good old Optimus. Anyhow, I think Angry Birds will probably do well, even though there isn't, the following that there once was. I mean, I think if you put out a Legend of Zelda series, like there was rumors a while back there was going to be one on Netflix, and that turned out not to be true, but there was so much buzz so quickly that people are all over it. But that's because it's got a long... it's over 30 years now. I'm not sure... Again, not sure where it is with Angry Birds.
And plus you've got a little bit almost even of a nostalgia factor with Zelda. Even if you haven't played any of the more recent incarnations, you remember playing it on your original Nintendo. Yeah.
So you probably would go see that, or check it out on Netflix. But Angry Birds, I would wait for video, just seeing... I don't know. Again, maybe it has a different appeal, but I look forward to seeing the various spin-off plushies that they create.
And probably they'll release a new game to coincide.
Yeah.
That'll be 10 times harder than the previous one.
Yeah, Angry Birds the game, the movie. Or the movie, the game, or whatever they're going to call it.
Angry Birds the movie, the game.
Yeah.
Yes, then that's what they should call it. Angry Birds the movie, the game.
Yeah. Speaking of spin-offs, how's that? Prometheus 2 is being renamed. It's being called Alien Paradise, which of course...
Paradise Lost.
Paradise Lost, thank you. Aliens, Paradise Lost.
Loosely based on the Milton poem.
Yeah. So, with aliens. Bug hunt.
There weren't aliens in the original? I don't know, I never read it.
Yeah. I don't recall. Maybe that was somewhere when he went into the fifth circle of hell. But, yeah.
No, that's Dante. And
that's Dante's Inferno. Okay. Sorry, missing out my classical literature. I think, it's just weird because at first we were told, oh no, Prometheus has nothing to do with aliens, and it turns out it does. And Prometheus 2, and they're avidly denying as early as a week or two ago that
last week
that no, nothing, it has nothing to do with aliens. This is going to be its own movie.
It was literally 48 hours after he denied that it was part of the Alien series. He announced the new title.
Yeah, Alien Paradise Lost. Gotcha! But it's fooled no one? I don't know.
But yeah, so apparently he says the third or fourth film will show the transition from the Prometheus films to the Alien films.
Okay.
So, we got a couple to go yet, but obviously Paradise Lost, it's the story from Genesis with Adam and Eve. That's where we all learned that it was an apple. That the fruit was in the Garden of Eden.
The Bible and the Paradise Lost are two different things, but yeah. Paradise Lost is...
No, right, but it's the Genesis story.
It's the Genesis story only.
And Paradise Lost was where they said that the fruit that was eaten in the Garden of Eden was an apple.
Yeah.
Because in the Bible, they don't specify.
No, most people speculate that it was a fig, though. Not an apple, because that would make more sense for that section of the world. Anyway.
Which would explain why Jesus was so mad at the fig tree. But anyway, we digress.
There we go. A bit of biblical knowledge in there with your Aliens Paradise Lost, or Alien Paradise Lost. Sorry,
yes,
no
Alien.
S.
Singular.
But anyway,
not until apparently we get to what will it be if we put the order and what the order will eventually be. It'll be the 5th or 6th film in the franchise, depending on how many they let Ridley make.
Yeah, really. And I don't know, is at this point, is it something we want Ridley to just, okay, dude, back away from the truck here, Or are we happy to see another one? Because I didn't hear too many people over-enthused in the end, and I never saw Prometheus, mainly because, one, I'm not really, really deeply into the Alien franchise. I mean, I think the first two were stupendous for what they're trying to do, and
right.
The third one doesn't really exist, from as far as what I know, and according to the way they're rewriting
David Fincher did, I think, a fairly reasonable job with what he ended up getting given. They kind of destroyed it out from under him. But, the movie itself wasn't that bad. And David Fincher's a good director.
Yeah, I know.
Hasn't he won Academy Award since then?
I don't know.
He did Social Network. I think he won for that.
Yeah, I guess. Whatever. But he also did Aliens 3, whatever.
It's Alien Cubed.
Alien Cubed. It's Alien Cubed. I gotta go see this thing 9 times.
The 3 is floating. It's Alien Cubed.
Yeah. Anyway, it's... I don't know, the origin story that everybody wanted to always see.
Yeah, right. The origin stories never are that great. Well, seldom.
Seldom. I think old school origin stories, like the first Superman done by Richard Donner, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
There's no beating.
You don't need another one.
Well, unless you're talking about the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, then you
don't need another origin story.
You don't need another. Oh yeah, no, you don't need
to redo the origin story. We've got it.
We've got it. Krypton blew up. His parents sent him away before it blew up. He's on Earth now, weak to kryptonite. Gets his powers from the yellow sun. Ta-da! Yeah. That could be like a headline for Lois Lane to write, and it's all right there. Done in 5 minutes with the whole origin story stuff.
It runs through the credits, like they did with the reboot of Hulk with Ed Norton.
Yeah.
Where they basically had the origin story, like little pre-credit sequence, and then during the credits, and then you get to see him learning how to breathe with one of the Gracies.
Yeah. It's just weird because, is this an origin story, or is it not? I mean, Ridley Scott keeps going out of his way to try to deny that this has anything to do with the original Alien.
Well, he was up until a couple of days ago when he announced the new title.
Yeah,
and then he's like, we're going to slowly trail into. It's going to be the longest origin story of all time.
Yeah, really, because he tried doing that too with the original Prometheus and nobody bought it. Now he's trying to do it again with Prometheus 2, and people weren't buying it, so the title has changed. And it's just, you wonder... I don't know. Yeah, I go back to is this an origin story that's just super drawn out? Is this an interesting enough origin story that people are hooked, or is it too far gone from the quote-unquote glory days of the franchise when people were still really hyped up to see it? Or do you think there's enough of a, I guess you would say, not just market, but is there enough of a new fan following? Not just the, I guess, 25 to 40 demographic that would know this a little bit better.
That would know the original series.
Yeah.
Well, sure. I think that you're going to have, because the first two anyway, are kind of known as being these great films. You've got a great horror movie, got a great action movie.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're looking purely at, the series and what's happened to it over time, I don't know if there's really a great following for it at this point. I think that there's enough people that want to know what's happening to go see it. I think it'll make a decent box office. I think it's worth making another one from a studio standpoint.
Yeah.
And so I can see coming from there. What I thought was really interesting in reading Ridley's remarks about it was that he said that it was from the beginning when the creature was created. Oddly, he didn't say xenomorph, which he should have. He should know that word.
He should know the word xenomorph.
But he said when the creature was created.
Yeah, that's kind of
which is kind of an interesting way of phrasing it, and might give us some insight into kind of where he might be going with the alien idea of, like, maybe the xenomorphs were specifically engineered to be like the perfect killing machines,
Yeah, and I have to admit, since Ridley Scott's had his hand in this since the beginning here, it'd be interesting to see if he did have some sort of grand scheme in hand, or in mind, I should say, from the very start, where he thought, like, okay, this first one here with Sigourney Weaver is setting up this, but you get this idea from the first one that the android, played by Ian Holm, already had an idea that they were going to find what they found. Yeah. So there's some kind of knowledge there that they were going to find something.
Right.
And it'd just be interesting to see if he had some sort of plan.
I don't think that he had something in mind from the beginning. I think he's closer to Lucas in that respect, of, like, I'm kind of making it up as I go along.
Oh, I hope not
like,
that bad.
I always meant to have it this way.
Hey, now you're
it was supposed to be
alien midichlorians?
Yes, that was my original idea I had back in 1973. I had it all written out, which he kept claiming forever, and we're like, no, man, I'm pretty sure you didn't.
No, pretty sure. Okay, so you think that he's just playing this by ear and going for...
I think so, but I think he's kind of taking into account, like, what has happened before. Okay. And I think he kind of has an idea based on the entire universe of where to go. I think he probably understands the universe better than just about anybody, so...
Being its originator, but yeah.
It's like, I think that he kind of has an idea of where he wants to go with it.
Yeah.
And I think probably would have the best idea, I mean, of anybody, of, like, say, hey, yes, this is what should happen, because I remember that this happened over here, and this happened over here, and there was this little thing in here, and there was this thing, and it was midichlorians the whole time.
Yeah, let's hope that Scott doesn't go that weird. And just a few more lights this time around, Mr. Scott, please. I know it's weird. I know it's taboo. I know it goes against your vampire
totally
heritage.
Uncomfortable for him.
Yeah, I know. It's like, they don't have those in my home country of Transylvania. This light thing. Anyway. So, let's talk about a director who, well, I don't know if he knows to handle his own franchise that he's got a handle on. And it just bothers me. The more I hear about it, I'm just like, God, please don't ruin this. So last week, Paul Feig, whatever. I don't care. He's going to ruin it. No, I'm just being a little pessimistic here. Has confirmed that Ernie Hudson and Sigourney Weaver, can't say names today, are going to be making cameos in the upcoming Ghostbusters movie for next year.
Right.
Which is...
And Danny Aykroyd's already signed on.
And Danny Aykroyd's...
And Bill Murray apparently has a larger role than I thought in it. He's like the big bad. But I think that it's kind of cool that he's going to have them in there, but they're not playing the original characters.
Which, I don't know. Part of me just feels that the whole thing's going to be weird, because, okay, they're there, but they aren't themselves. It just... I don't know if it's supposed to be like an homage handoff, or we've got to get some of the original cast, or there's just no hope for this movie. The only person that they don't have at this point is Rick Moranis, but Rick Moranis, because of his wife's health from a few years ago, kind of bowed out of cinema.
Or Annie Potts. I haven't heard about her.
I haven't heard about her, but you could see where sadly, she may not be somebody that people would mention right off the top of their heads.
Well, but certainly they'd remember her.
They'd remember her.
If for nothing else, she's a memorable character in the show.
Even she's a memorable character.
Know the name.
Even if you don't know the name, you're right. I mean, like, but she would have, I hate to say it, I could see her as like a 5-second cameo of like, they bump into her at the road. I'm walking here. I'm walking, right. And like, oh, right, hey, that's Eddie Potts.
Hey, that's even
for those of you who know her name.
Yeah, it's like that's what's her name from the original ones. Yeah, and I think that's kind of seems like what he's doing is like, yes, if I can't make a Ghostbusters movie and not have these guys in it, but I'm making a totally different Ghostbusters movie. So to have them show up in cameos, like which it kind of seems like most of the characters are doing. Danny Aykroyd's playing a cab driver in it, so it's like I think that probably you're just going to have brief cameos from most of the characters, just to say, hey, look, we're in this. It's a little wink and a nod to the audience. I think that if done right, and Puffy could probably do it, he's made some pretty good movies. Reasonably good.
Okay, yeah. Said catch my eye
he
here.
He kind of has the, he understands the, like, comedic timing and things like that. So I think that he can, I think that there's room there to do that.
Okay, to me, though, with the amount of people that are coming back from the original shows, and this, it feels less like, quick wink, nudge at the camera, like more like that character from the Monty Python skit with wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. Yeah, get what I mean, get what I mean. Right. It's an homage, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's like, you have this many people from the original...
You would be more upset if Dan Aykroyd showed up playing Ray Stantz. You'd be mad about that.
No, I think if he was like handing it off and doing those fantastic exposition and whatever with his like knowledge of the occult and ghosts and such, and doing one of those quick rapid fire things is better than the mass sponge migration of 1951, kind of things. And he was doing it as a kind of teacher role or mentor thing for the upcoming Ghostbusterettes or whatever they're calling them. But yeah, like doing that kind of thing where he's sitting there talking, explaining them through, and maybe have the one lady who's supposed to be the sort of Egon takeoff kind of sitting there nodding, and the other three are kind of looking deadpan like, what the heck is he talking about, and one absorbing it. I would love that. And maybe if, and then I'm like going to recast Bill Murray in the role of the secretary thing, sitting there smoking a cigarette, kind of lounging back like, yeah, whatever, And then I'm off to make a cameo appearance, or have him say I'm off to do a birthday party, or not a birthday party, but do a talk show appearance. But maybe have him like he's just relegated to the face of whatever. He's the spokesman, but still doing the kind of huckster thing. And sadly, we don't have Egon anymore, but you could still have some sort of like in memoriam there.
Right.
But look at this. I'm like spouting off in 2 minutes, and I feel like personally. Again, it's not the issue of having all females, unless it's just all females because, oh, look, it's all females.
Right.
But if they handed it off in the right way here means my way. If they handed it away...
Well, that was the original idea back a few years ago when they were first tossing around the idea. But
see, that sounds so much better to me. All this wink, wink, nudge, nudge sounds way too much comedy and not enough, like... I actually, if you listen to the DVD commentary, and you really should, for the original Ghostbusters, I can't remember whether it was like the director or one of the writers was talking about something he called the, the domino effect of reality, where you set up all the characters, and they're realistic-ish characters. You've got the over-enthusiastic fanboy, so to speak. You've got the scientist, you've got the huckster, and eventually they bring on the token black guy. But it's actually just your working schlub.
Right.
To just like, I just am looking for a job kind of guy. Right. And what they do is they don't just automatically jump in and, oh, there's ghosts, but they take you there slowly, and they build up to the big bad with Gozer and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Right. They still have the jokes, they still have the humor, but it also has a bit of seriousness to it, so you're saying, this is funny, but it's also serious. We can't... we can take a breather and laugh at the fact that Bill Murray just got slimed here.
Right.
But it's not like we're going to sit there and milk it for all it's worth.
Right.
Which, unfortunately, given Paul Feig, whatever, his personality of directing and the kind of comedies,
the kind of films he's
the
done.
kind of films he's done, I could see
that broad slapstick kind of things. I understand.
I could see somebody sitting there like a 5-minute gag about how they got slimed and some sort of gross references and just like, you know, that's what concerns me at this point is that there's too much winking. And there's
Paul
not
Feig
even
is too much of a fanboy of the original one to do that. I think that he will make it as true to the original as he possibly can. Well, I think that there are too many people that would say, how can you have a Ghostbusters movie and not have Bill Murray in it? And so Bill Murray's in it. And then they go, well, why didn't you put, you know, Ernie Reyes? You know, couldn't Ernie Hudson in there? You know, why isn't, you know, Sigourney Weaver in there?
Yeah,
you know, I think that, you know, at some point the fanboys are going to be like, how can you make a movie, a Ghostbusters movie, and Dan Aykroyd isn't in it? He wrote the original one, for goodness sake. Come on!
Yeah, him and three others in like in a bunker or something from the story.
But just from his original idea.
Yeah.
You know, it was all Dan Aykroyd's idea. Why wouldn't you have him in it? Come on. You know, I think that it's in part as kind of a homage, but also in part to just say, fine guys, it's Ghostbusters movie, we put him in it, okay? You know?
I don't know. I
even like think Paul Feig's tweet about Sigourney Weaver being in it kind of was the knowing kind of thing of like, okay guys, it's gonna get out, so I'm just going to tell you. It was like, you know, okay, you know, one would rather have this be a surprise, but somebody's going to find out and it's going to get posted. So, you know, here, let me just say yes for the record, she's in it. You know?
Yeah, and he sounds all exasperated in those tweets too. It's like, oh, there's too much stuff leaking out, and just because I know it's going to happen anyway, so, you know, Ernie Hudson and Sigourney Weaver are confirmed to be in the movie. And it's just...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which I think that probably he's sick of people going off about how he's going to ruin Ghostbusters. Like, no, it's a different Ghostbusters movie. He's not doing anything to the original one. The original one's still there. It's fine. Like, let him do his stuff. You know, figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes when it comes up. So, producers of the fourth Men in Black film are saying...
So speaking of ruining the new version of the film...
Yeah, speaking of ruining the new version of the film, the producers of the fourth... why am I all tongue-tied? The producers for Men in Black, who, for some weird reason, want like it to be a crossover into the 21 Jump Street franchise.
I said, no, they're not doing that.
Yeah, they keep on saying it, though, at the side, that they kind of want to do this. It seems like that stupid sort of thing.
No, the papers keep saying that.
Oh,
because
really?
It was in one of the leaked emails from the Sony hack.
Oh, okay.
Was that somebody was floating the idea of doing it. No, that's probably just somebody going, hey, you know what would be funny?
Oh,
and
okay.
Nobody's actually seriously thinking about that.
Well,
I don't take that seriously at all. It's from an email that somebody sent, and somebody was being funny.
Okay, well, whether that's serious or not.
At all.
Okay.
The only people that have said anything about that are the people in the press, are the only ones that are making that link. No one from officially, the producers, no one has gone on the record actually saying that.
Okay. Well, what they have gone on the record as saying, is that they likely won't have Will Smith in it.
Right.
And, like, they already are saying that Tommy Lee Jones isn't going to be in it. And I'm just like, how can you have a Men in Black movie without Will Smith? It's like, he owns those movies.
At least have a cameo. Come on.
At least have a cameo. At least have a handoff.
See, that's what I was saying about Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but Well, maybe not a cameo. When I think cameo, in this sense, most of these franchises senses, I think of an actual handoff. Like, the character is the character from the original. And but just like Will Smith playing this kind of Fresh Prince, yo, I'm cool persona, which is fun.
Yeah.
It was great fun, especially played against the deadpanning of Tommy Lee Jones. It's like, how can you have a fourth film without the two of them, at least some small role, like just expect it to go better or well? I mean...
Well, they envision this as the start of a new trilogy.
Oh, really?
Really. So, basically, they want to keep printing money.
Uh-huh.
And they don't think that they can keep having, the same, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones as they get older still goofing around like they're kids.
Well, neither of them were kids. Well, kind of Will Smith was when he started.
Will Smith was.
But they can still have them in there to a degree.
30s at the time. And Tommy Lee Jones was 103, I think.
Yeah.
At the start of it.
At the start.
So,
now in his early 200s or something. But he just... I don't know. I guess the chemistry between the two of them, even though the second movie was a very weak entry into the franchise, it still had, even bad movies still have their moments, and it still had that good chemistry between the two of them, which you need. And it's just hard to imagine a movie that basically, it wasn't the launching point. I mean, at that point, Will Smith had already made... ID4, Independence Day, whatever your preference is to call it. But he'd been playing that kind of certain persona, which, let's face it, it was kind of like different shades of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Right.
But it's still a fun character, and it's still fun to see him sitting there throwing out Will Smithisms and usually playing off against the deadpanning of somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody plays it straight, he plays it as...
Right, he's
the Fresh Prince.
Right, exactly. He's the goofball, and he needs a straight man to play off of, and and it works for him. As long as he's got a good straight man.
Yeah.
But he seems to be moving away from that. He wants to do more serious roles, and which he has been doing. He turned down ID 42 or
ID 42.5, whatever they're calling it. Yeah,
but and. He probably wouldn't want to do another Men in Black film anyway. It's kind of like he doesn't want to be doing that anymore. He wants to move into like being a real actor, and quote unquote with bunny rabbit ears, wants to be a real actor and not do these goofy, big actiony type movies anymore.
Which I mean, I can understand as he's getting a bit older that he can't quite do them. I mean After Earth was basically a boy trying to launch his son's career. By the way, a little side note, don't use M. Night Shyamalan next time you want to launch somebody's film career. He just... I don't know. I understand he's probably trying to move past that or beyond that or whatever, but I don't know. To me, I guess he's still kind of firmly entrenched in that same... I almost want to say pantheon of action stars. Like, you've got The Rock, you've got Arnie, and you've got Stallone, you've got all these people who you think of in action movies, and I guess he's been in so many in my mind that it's hard to think of him as transitioning, even though I know he's done other movies that have been more serious and been more dramatic, and I know he's also been in romantic comedies too.
Yeah, romantic comedies. I actually enjoyed Hitch, not as many people as I would have thought enjoyed it, but I enjoyed Hitch.
Hitch was all right, but it wasn't like...
And Focus, which wasn't too bad either, but he turned in a good performance. There was the ridiculous one. What was it, where he's giving away his body parts?
7 pounds, I think.
Yeah, 7 pounds, something like that. Where he's giving away all of his body parts.
Yeah.
Which was just totally ridiculous. But he turns in a good performance. Like, I didn't hate him in it. I just hated the movie.
What was the other one he was in? Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes, Pursuit of Happiness. Yes, where he does the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Right. And then many years ago, 6 Degrees of Separation, which was like his first real movie role.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was actually
more dramatic role, yeah. So,
I don't know. But the point being, it's hard to imagine the film franchise without him, because he was...
It's kind of become associated with the two of them, so it's
kind
hard to see.
Yeah. I mean, they made a phenomenal cartoon series based off of the two characters, which, yes, was not voiced by the two leads, but still had that same kind of persona. Like, you've got the kind of goofball and you've got the straight man.
And I think that, if you do a new movie and you have the goofball and you have the straight man, I think that you could probably make a decent movie. I think the whole time we're going to be wondering, where's Will Smith?
Yeah, I was going to say,
like, Tommy Lee Jones?
Where's Will Smith? Where's Tommy Lee Jones? It isn't as good as the original.
Right, exactly. And I think that the only reason that you weren't searching around for Tommy Lee Jones for most of the Men in Black 3 was because James Brolin was
because
Tommy
James
Lee Jones.
Brolin really absorbed himself into Tommy Lee Jones as Agent K.
He was exactly that.
He was
so perfectly.
He did so great a job in that, and Tommy Lee Jones was hardly in it. When you really look back at it, he was in it for maybe all of 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and it just is a testament to how well James Brolin was to play off of. Yeah, sort of the way that Jim Carrey was able to channel Frank Gorshin for the Riddler in Batman Forever.
He wasn't playing the Riddler.
He wasn't playing
Frank Gorshin as the Riddler.
He was playing Frank Gorshin as the Riddler. But yeah, that's we'll see where it goes. And this is way early on. These are in the way pre-planning stages of we want to start a new rebooting of the Men in Black franchise. They haven't cast it yet, but they're already dismissing the two main leads that brought them the cash cow before. So who knows? All right, so I'm gonna make this brief because I want my heart going back and forth and yay. Garrett Hedlund says that Tron 3 still might happen. So you've got people saying, oh, this is for sure, we're making it, and then all of a sudden you have a Disney exec saying, no, it's not going to happen, we're killing that project. And then you have Garrett Hedlund, who was the star of the Tron Legacy movie that came out a few years ago, saying, oh, it still might actually happen. And at this point, I don't know what to think. I really do want a third Tron franchise, I'm not going to lie. Right. I liked both of them. I liked the first one. I liked the second one. I would love to see a third one. I've watched some of the animated series that they did, and that was actually phenomenally animated and voiced by Bruce Boxleitner, returning to the role of Tron.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was it lasted, I think, a season and a half, maybe 2 seasons on Disney Extreme or whatever, but it had a very unique animation style. It was sort of this hybrid between anime and cell shading, and it was weird, but it very well fit the style. It wasn't CG, it wasn't computer graphic animation, it was traditional animation, but done in a way to make it have this sort of computerish look. Again, great for the Tron franchise.
That was exactly what you want from
Which is what you want from the Tron franchise, and I just want there to be more Tron franchise, so I wanted to take a second to say I hope that Garrett Hedlund's right. But there's not much more beyond that other than him.
Other than his, throwaway remark of they made the second one 28 years after the original one. Maybe we won't make this one for another 28 years. But I think that would be perfect in keeping with everything. And I'll have a CG Flynn face in the next sequel that we do. So he's saying maybe one day, but there's nobody actually saying that they're working on it.
Nobody's saying there's actually any production on it, sadly, but there's still interest there from the cast members to do it, and I think that's, for me personally, I think when I'm looking at Hollywood stuff, that's a good starting point, because that means that if somebody out there listening, somebody from Disney were to say, hey, maybe we should give Tron another shot, one of the main actors there is on board with you. Yeah. They're ready to do it. And I think that Jeff Bridges I don't know if they'd find a way to bring his character back, but I'm sure he'd be up for another one too. He seems to enjoy doing whatever.
Yeah.
He's pretty much is the dude, only with a little bit more intelligence than that. But he's laid back enough that he's like, yeah, why not? That might be fun. Yeah. So there is interest from the cast. That's where I set my hat of hope on, is that because there's cast interest and there's still fan interest, that eventually some exec will say, okay, let's try this. Let's do this. Hopefully.
Dan Aykroyd pushed for long enough to get a new Ghostbusters. I was
going to say, by golly, if Dan Aykroyd could push for so many years and eventually gets his follow-up Ghostbuster movie, even if it's not quite the way I hope it would be, I sure as heck hope that by fan pushing and actors kind of saying, yeah, I'd like to do that again.
Yeah.
And one day soon.
Maybe one day.
Sooner than 28.
Maybe we're all old and gray.
Sooner than 28 years would be better, but I'd still go see it. I'll limp my way up the stair banister and find a good middle of the row seat and watch Tron 3 in a heartbeat. Alright, so here comes that inevitable section that we don't like talking about here on the One More Rewrite podcast, and that's passing of famous celebrities, which this is not supposed to be a regular segment, people. Stop dying. Recently, within the past couple of months, where we had this kind of unintended hiatus, some big names have passed, and one of which being Wes Craven, the horror master himself. Fan favorite, creator of such things as like Nightmare on Elm Street, the Scream series. I mean, I think that he was, I hate saying he was, our modern version of like the guys who produced the Hammer horror films and those original films back in the 40s and 50s with like, Mummy and the Frankenstein's monster. It's like, he's our modern horror master. Was. But yeah.
Really, from Last House on the Left to, the Scream franchise and all of the various things that he did in between. Like, he's really put his mark on just the horror, genres. Really, kind of became Wes Craven. Became synonymous with it, and even what was the sixth film in the Nightmare on Elm Street trilogy was named Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and he actually appears in it. Yeah.
And so does Robert Englund, doesn't he?
Robert Englund plays Robert Englund in it. Yeah. Which makes it one of my favorites. It's like, what was it, like the line in it. The first one was the only good one. And he didn't actually want to deliver the line because he didn't want to say something about the other directors that had come after him, and then he had to be reminded that he actually made a couple of those.
Oh, think I did? Whoops. Yeah.
Which I thought was great. And that Wes was able to make fun of himself, and that, I mean, even Jay and Silent Bob.
I was going to say, he had a cameo in Jay and Silent Bob.
It's like, Wes, it's like you're not even trying anymore.
It's like, what? It's a monkey. Everybody loves monkeys. It's sad, too, because you see so many crummy horror, quote-unquote, movies come out.
Right.
That, like, Unfriended and Insidious and
Paranormal
Activity. We're going to shake the crap out of the camera and hope that frightens you. Right. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to vomit all over my seat, but not because what you have is horror-inducing or grotesque.
We're making a sequel to the reboot of Halloween. You're like, really?
Wait, what?
Why?
This is... Okay, get this. This time, he's in space. Because why? Well, because... No, you already lost me. Yeah, Jason X.
Jason X was fun.
Jason X was fun, I'll give you that. But they weren't trying to be horrific.
Because you didn't expect it to be any good. You're just kind of like, oh, yeah, he's in space.
It's okay, he has his machete. Okay, that was the Army of Darkness of the Jason franchise. It really was. But getting back to Wes, it was his kind of look on the horror genre. And he also, am I wrong in thinking he did The Faculty? Or is that somebody else?
It was actually directed by Kevin Williamson.
It was directed by Kevin Williamson, who often collaborated with.
Yes,
with
he
Wes.
wrote Scream, so that's where you're getting.
That's where I'm getting the connection from, because Kevin Williamson worked on it, and he and Wes Craven were a good duo there. But Wes Craven had. Well, how else do you say it? There are directors that have their thumbprint, their fingerprints. They're distinct. And they make a movie that it's like, oh, you look at it in an instant, you know who made that movie. It's watchable. It must be Wes Craven.
Right. Yeah. Hey, this is actually pretty good horror movie. Oh, it must be Wes Craven. Yeah. It's like, and definitely going to miss his particular sense of humor.
Yeah, and a good dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
You don't see that, I think, in other horror movies that are out there these days. Is a little bit of levity. We're not talking
Right.
like laugh out loud, slap your knee funny, but just a moment where you give the characters a second to breathe before you cut them to pieces. But you aren't just thinking of them as these horrible, grim people in this horrible, grim life waiting to...
That's part of what made Freddy Krueger so enduring, was that he's cracking jokes. You know, like, he's got those great one-liners, and, you know, he's popping out of TV sets, and, you know, like, you know, I'm your girlfriend now. No, I'm your boyfriend.
I'm your boyfriend
I'm
now.
your boyfriend now. As he rips his head off.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's those things where he throws out those little, the little comic thing, where it's supposed to be this horrifying moment to freak you out, but it's kind of a funny thing to say, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like he injected that little bit of humor into all of his films, really, where he had that little twist on it, that little Wes Craven twist, where it's not just brutal slasher, stab, die.
Not something... Yeah, you aren't getting your gruesome, horrible brutalness without a little bit of humor and a little bit of personality.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, everybody's just basically cannon fodder, and you don't get invested in it. I mean, yes, I know the Insidious film did well enough to make a second one, and yes, we're on Paranormal 5, 4, whatever it is, but it just doesn't have the same staying power. Those things fill...
They're disposable.
Yeah, they're disposable. They fill the bins of, like, the discount bins of the Best Buys of the world, wherever they are.
Yeah.
and there will never be much more than that. It's just, you know...
It's
discount bin
another
filler.
horror film that came out. Whereas, you know, every Halloween, people go in...
Oh, let's go watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yeah, let's
I
watch
haven't seen
Nightmare on Elm
Scream
Street.
in a while. Let's go watch
Let's
Scream.
go Scream again. And yeah, come this Halloween, you know, Scream, that's going to be on my list. I'm going to be rewatching that one.
I'm going to rewatch Scream, because that's definitely something I think would come up in our forthcoming Halloween special, is the entries that Wes Craven brought, because they're watchable.
Yes, for sure.
And I don't want to just say watchable, because anything is watchable. You know,
You can suffer through anything.
You can suffer through anything with enough endurance, but no,
Rewatchable.
He made films that were rewatchable and that you could actually have a pointed discussion about, rather than saying, like, yep, more shaky cam, I guess this must be one of the Paranormal Activities. Oh, look, it's done through heat vision.
Yeah.
You know, whoopity-doo. Oh, wow, that character has personality. It must be Wes Craven.
Yeah, exactly.
You have more depth than, am I going to get stabbed or shot?
It was that the characters had more going on, and even his, you know, evil character, his big bad,
even the big bad
had
had more
some character
going on. Then I'm going to pull you into the
rather than just,
bed and
you know,
just
unstoppable
devour you.
killing machine.
Yeah,
You know, and even, you know, I mean, sure, you've got your Jason and you've got your Mike Myers, but you've got personality.
Yeah, I was just saying. Okay, so maybe they're not maybe the villains aren't quite 3-dimensional, but at least they have a personality. They aren't just like the faceless ghoul ripping the person to shreds. They're actually some kind of thing that with intent, I should say, with an actual intent and quote unquote motivation, rather than just it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just makes it that much more of an interesting film.
It makes it, that's right. So, thanks, Wes, for the memories, and we'll definitely be talking about you more come every Halloween and every October.
Every Halloween.
Every Halloween. Alrighty, so I want to talk about another passing in Hollywood that happened very recently, although it went without much, I don't want to say fanfare, because that just sounds weird, but it went without much notice. It was like, it came and went as a Twitter trend, and like, brief mention in a few news segments, and that's it. But I guess it hits a little more home personally for me, because I was a fan of Dean Jones.
Yeah.
Starred in a ton of Disney movies.
Starred in your favorite Disney movie. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Everyone out there. He starred in your favorite Disney movie.
Yeah. And
he just
unless it's Mary Poppins, but he was prolific in the Disney films, and it's
Oh, sorry, your favorite live-action Disney movie.
Your favorite live-action Disney movie.
Because I'm sure there's plenty of Little Mermaid fans out there.
Yes, I should say. But yeah, what was in the Shaggy DA, That Darn Cat, I just like suddenly blanking, but he's
Dog,
got
Ugly Dog Sound.
Ugly Dog Sound.
One of my personal favorites, being a fan of Great Danes.
Yeah.
Herbie. He was in the Herbie series.
He was in the Herbie series, too. He was in The Love Bug, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo.
Herbie Goes Bananas.
I don't know. There's certain faces that kept turning up, and it wasn't until years later that I found out who he was. I mean, I didn't know who Kurt Russell was until, years later. But, Dean Jones was pretty much a staple of Disney films, I think, when did those films shot? The 60s, 70s?
Yeah, it was 70s.
It has to have been the late 60s, early 70s, because you could tell by the tone of the acting. But it's funny because he does have a lot of pratfalls and a lot of goofiness. Right. But the thing is he still plays it in that almost Leslie Nielsen kind of I'm the straight man that goofy stuff keeps happening to.
Right, and him playing off of Buddy Hackett and Love
him
Bug
playing off of Buddy Hackett and Love
some
Bug.
of the greatest moments, And then, the one good part of Herbie Fully Loaded was when Dean Jones showed up, and I went, "Oh, it's Dean Jones!"
Yeah. Oh my gosh, tears.
Yeah, he's actually in this. Oh,
yeah, and that made the movie so much better.
It made it worth watching.
Yeah. Okay, I forgive you for having Lindsay Lohan. It's okay, Herbie. No, you were just looking to get back to Dean Jones.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he wasn't always playing a likable guy. He was sometimes he was a little bit mean-spirited, but he learns to be nicer along the way.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know. It sounds weird to say, but it's funny because I always thought of him as being a more serious guy. You won't go back and rewatch them, and he does a lot of pratfalls, and it's kind of funny because you're seeing, in the same way that Leslie Nielsen's stuff was funny, because you're seeing a serious guy do pratfalls, which I personally find funnier than the kind of
goofy guy doing it.
The goofy guy falling down, because you expect Kevin James to fall down,
right? Yeah, but Dean Jones is playing the serious. He's the businessman. Horse in the gray flannel suit.
Yeah.
He's the businessman. He's the dad.
He's the dad. He's the businessman. He's the straight-laced guy trying to make his way in the world. And I just slipped on something. So and consequently, his expressions are that much funnier.
Great idea of ooh, I finally figured out how I'm going to do. It's like $1 million duck.
Yeah.
This goose lays golden. His duck lays golden eggs. You're don't tell anybody.
Yeah. It's just, and you're naming off movies that I've forgotten the other ones that he was in. It's just if I think of something, I'm sure he was in it. But Horse in the Gray Flannel Suit, another great one that had...
good. It's been so long since you watched it. You should go out and rewatch that. It has been a while since
I've watched it, because that one was absolutely hilarious. And it also had I can't remember the guy's name who played opposite Dick Van Dyke in the TV show. He was in that one, too.
Jerry Van Dyke?
No, not Jerry Van Dyke. It was the short guy. It was he played Buddy in the...
Maury Amsterdam.
Thank you. Yes, Maury Amsterdam. He's in Horse in the Gray Flannel Suit, too. He has some great moments in there opposite Dean Jones. And the $1 Million Duck, I forgot about that one. He's been in so much. It's crazy.
So many great films. Yeah, so we should really go out immediately and pick up the Dean Jones collection.
Yeah, really. Do they have it under that? Because they should.
They should.
They should have a Dean Jones collection.
I don't know if it exists, but it definitely should. I know they put out the Kurt Russell.
They put out a Kurt Russell collection
a few years back.
But somebody at Disney should get working on that, because a Dean Jones collection would be awesome. Because
we'll buy the box set.
I'll buy the box set of a Dean Jones collection.
I'll commit right now to buying the box set.
Because those are fun. They have a bit of camp, but they're not as bad as modern day Disney films where there's just over the top camp.
Right.
You can rewatch these. Excuse me, much in the same way that you could watch the Kurt Russell ones. So it's got a bit of camp, but it's still it's just, I don't know, good-natured, good-hearted fun. So thanks, Dean Jones, for the memories. It was fun, and it still is fun. I've got to run out and That's almost an entire TGFV recommendation on its own. Every Dean Jones movie that he starred in with Disney is just, it's fun.
Especially anything with Suzanne Pleshette.
Especially anything with Suzanne Pleshette, like the $1 Million Dog.
Yes.
Not the $1 Million Dachshund. The $1 Million Dachshund.
$1 Million Duck and Ugly Dachshund.
Ugly Dachshund. $1 Million Duck. There's some great stuff there. Okay, so it's time to meet the Muppets. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight. At least that's how it used to be. The Muppets have returned to television, and this time it's not the variety show that it used to be. It's sort of supposed to be this behind the scenes.
It's behind the scenes of a talk show.
It's behind the scenes of a talk show starring the Muppets as the characters, and from the looks of it, it has sort of the Office type feel. The characters running around having interactions, but also in that kind of style.
It's Larry Sanders Show, kind of, where it's kind of like, it's a talk show. The talk show is ostensibly happening, but it's the build up, it's the behind the scenes of them working up and trying to make the talk show.
Yeah.
And of course, as you probably already know, that Kermit and Miss Piggy have broken up.
Yeah.
Kermit's dating a new girl, new pig.
And okay, let's just get into it. I wasn't too enthralled. I was kind of hopeful for when there was an announcement made that there was going to be a new Muppet series. I was hoping for a variety show and kind of a return to the original
Muppet Show tonight.
The Muppet Show tonight, the original glory days of like Steve Martin and Mark Hamill and John Cleese showing up and just like them trying to do their best to be on the show, but the Muppets being the Muppets and just totally off the wall. But this Lunchbox has seen it, I haven't, and it just, I don't know. The earlier reviews for it are mixed, but more negative than positive. And
seem to be, although the commercials for it would lead you to believe otherwise, because they pop up a bunch of great reviews from
they always do that. I mean, wasn't Sony guilty of getting fake reviews from whatever?
Yeah.
If you call the herd enough, you can find what you're looking for.
Right, exactly, and that's why you always got to look at who's that review from. Oh, it's from omaze.com? I didn't even know they reviewed movies.
Yeah. Or some like obscure website or some obscure reviewer from the, the Golden City Chronicle from Colorado. Exactly. You're just like, oh, this guy here liked it. I don't know. The best review that I've seen, or the best commentary on it I've seen, I haven't seen it myself, but just based on the commercials for it and based on the few minutes that I've watched, is the Muppets aren't as joyful as they used to be in this. They're a little bit more cynical, a little bit more hard-edged, and that takes away too much from the core of what the Muppets are. And just to get this part out of the way, I don't think you cannot ruin my childhood with any film. I know that's an overused phrase of like, hey, you ruined my childhood. My childhood is enshrined forever and untouchable, thank you, by your modern reinterpretations of whatever my favorite show and TV series or movie is. So you can't ruin it. But you can sure screw up the legacy. And you could sure
and kind of ruin it going forward a little bit. I think that, and having seen it, I definitely get that of, like, it doesn't have the joy that the original Muppets did, of just kind of the goofiness and such.
Yeah.
And I thought that probably I would enjoy that kind of harder edge thing, but I liked one of the reviewers had said that it's kind of like a cynical take on the Muppets.
Yeah.
Kind of like Greg the Bunny.
But who wants to see cynical Muppets?
But for some reason starring the actual Muppets. I love Greg the Bunny. Like, I thought it was great. Loved it, thought it was hilarious. Because it's not actually the Muppets. It's kind of like just doing kind of a takeoff.
It's a takeoff.
It's a different character.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is like what the Muppets would be behind the scenes, but we're not actually watching the Muppets do it.
Yeah, Mr. Froggy, not Kermit, but
right,
something
exactly.
like that.
Where you have that kind of character, but it's not actually them doing it.
Yeah.
And it kind of ruins it a little bit when it's actually them doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like why nobody, well, I wouldn't say nobody, because I love Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
But why Last Action Hero didn't work is that Last Action Hero was a parody of Arnold Schwarzenegger films, but it was starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And that might have been the bigger mistake.
Like, you can't do it. Like, they cast Arnold Schwarzenegger playing a parody of himself, and people weren't buying it. Like, you can't buy in when it's actually them.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's okay if you cast, The Rock pretending to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Then you think it's hilarious, and it's funny.
Yeah, that I would see in a heartbeat. That sounds funny. And actually, I think The Rock has a little bit more better comedic timing.
He has better comedic timing.
So I would watch a movie starring The Rock playing as The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock playing Arnold Schwarzenegger
would
be hilarious.
The Rock playing Arnold Schwarzenegger would be absolutely hilarious. Make it happen, Hollywood.
We're going to remake Last Action Hero, and this time we're going to use The Rock.
Yeah.
As Arnold Schwarzenegger. That will be hilarious.
That would be so awesome. Anyway, we digress.
That's why it didn't work, though. That's why you couldn't do. And I'm almost doing a rewrite again here.
Yeah.
But that's why it doesn't quite work, is that you've got the actual Muppets doing a satire of the Muppets. It just, for some reason, doesn't quite click.
Yeah.
There's just such a disconnect with watching the actual characters do it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I love a good satire, and I love, the concept is good. It's just, I don't want actual Kermit and Miss Piggy doing it,
Yeah, you don't want Kermit and Miss Piggy actually breaking up. And you'd actually seen the show, and one of the comments that I had also read about the Muppet Show that, again, also was pointed, because when I heard, Kermit and Miss Piggy are breaking up, I was just like, well, that sounds like a terrible idea. Whose idea was this? Because, as they had put it, Miss Piggy, she's like a prima donna, always throwing around, screaming and whatnot. And it's funny because she also has this ridiculously soft side when it comes to Kermit. She goes all melty and, I'm so sorry. And she absolutely adores and loves him. And that gives her a soft side. So that she's not just this totally unlikable diva personality.
Right.
But without that care for Kermit, she's just...
And she really does come off like... In the one episode, in all fairness, the one episode that we've seen of it, well, that I've seen of it,
that you've seen of it,
does come off that way. And hopefully there's some more exposition in forthcoming episodes where we kind of build it up and kind of create more depth to the characters.
Yeah,
it's just, I'm not sure I want to see the Muppets like that. And so,
I mean, and I am no fan of the newer Muppet movies. I kind of stopped watching. Still haven't seen Muppets from Space. I hear it's still close to the original Muppets before they.
No, Muppets from Space is the last original one.
Is the last original kind of? We're still kind of got that Muppet feel, but the newer ones are just the Muppets. It looks too much like. There's again, I feel that sense from the trailers that I've seen that there's not as much joy. There.
Oh, there's totally the joy there.
I just don't see it. I'm sorry.
There
I guess
totally
it's.
Is.
I
you
guess
should
it's
watch the new ones. I really think you'd like them.
I have a hard time getting past some of the cameo actors, but I know that's my thing. But let's talking about the TV show.
You've got more issues than National Geographic.
Yeah, whatever. Hardbound. The show doesn't look fun. And you need fun with the Muppets. And I totally get what you're saying with the Greg the Bunny thing. This is like, I could see this. I would watch this if it was like a parody show, not featuring the Muppets, and it was like Mr. Frog, Offset, and a Porkerina or something. But actual Kermit and Miss Piggy breaking up. Who thought this was a great idea?
Right.
Fozzie has weird issues. What?
Yeah. The stuff with.
It's just.
I mean, it'd be funny if it wasn't actually Fozzie,
Yeah.
It's like, you do when it's actually Fozzie, you feel bad for him, and you can't really feel bad for him. You kind of just got to laugh at the situation.
You've got to be able to laugh at the,
and you can't because you love these characters too much.
Yeah,
like you see them, get their feelings hurt, and you're like, oh, hey.
Yeah, if you make Fozzie too much of a sad sack, and he's like really like that in real life type of sad sack, it's just like you're taking it to a whole new level of like, who decided it was a good idea to bring a hard and bitter edge to the Muppets? Like characters that are so inherently like joyful and wacky.
Yeah,
that is just
there's no wackiness in the new one.
There's no wackiness, and it just I maybe it'll turn around. Maybe somebody will get the idea, but I don't see this show lasting more than a season at the way it's going.
I think probably a season. I don't see, unless they make some serious changes to the way that the characters are interacting and the kind of things that they're doing with the characters, then I don't see. I think they need to move it to more of the talk show format and make a kind of fake actual talk show and have that be more of the show.
Yeah.
Then I think that would be a lot more fun, maybe a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, but more talk show stuff, and then make them a little funnier. Yeah. And trying to put the show on, and it's just not working out.
If it was like a modern day talk show, like them trying to pull off a modern day talk show, and you saw a little bit of behind the scenes, that to me would be a better updated version of the Muppet Show tonight. Because it may not be the variety shows like they used to have in the 70s, but it still have that same kind of wacky what's going on behind the scenes, and you can have
wacky behind the scenes.
You can have wacky behind the scenes stuff. You can have like Kermit still be the producer trying to make it all work, and like, okay, their next guest is Salma Hayek or something, and I don't know, like Animal has her tied up in his room or something weird, or anything. I mean, there's a Weezer video out there that captures the spirit of the Muppets, and that was produced like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. It has the same kind of deal, and it has Miss Piggy's tied up one of the bandmates and is locked in his room, and it captures that feel. It's like a short little music video, but it still feels like something that could have been pulled out. This doesn't. Anyway.
No, it's not the same spirit.
Not the same spirit. We'll see where it goes, though.
Yep.
Okay, now it's time for TGFV, Thank God for Video. That time where we recommend movies to you that you should run out and download, grab a copy on eBay, or find from a streaming service, or go to your local Blockbuster if they still existed. But you should go out and find these in whatever format possible. And this week, I'm starting off things, and I've got Cliffhanger. Memories. Funny side story, our old boss swears black and blue that one day like a couple of people had come in to buy tickets for it, and their accents were just a little too thick, unfortunately, but by golly, he did sell them tickets for Cliffhanger, and they were in for a treat because Cliffhanger is just good, solid action. It's fun, and I'm sure most people already have seen it, but if you don't own it, run out and grab it, because rewatching this, you see it, and you see why it still holds up. I mean, there's some movies, specifically like 80s movies, that definitely have that feel a little bit too much.
Yeah.
80ish orchestral. In the background, and they really kind of reek of 80s culture, which isn't a bad thing. It just doesn't make them as timeless as Cliffhanger, which is set up in the mountains. You've got Sly Stallone as a former mountaineer, climber, park rescue ranger response person, and he's haunted by his past because he lost his best friend's girlfriend. Was it girlfriend or wife? It was his girlfriend.
I think it was a girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's been a little while. It's been about a month or two. Is that anyway? It was well, it's a better movie than the rewrite I'm going to talk about later. But it had some great scene-chewing villainy from John Lithgow, and had this like great subplot / I guess that is the whole plot thing, is they got the main characters there are trapped up on a mountainside with bank robbers / terrorists. They've got like a whole grub full of money.
Or something.
They're robbers, basically. They've got a ton of money, and basically Sly Stallone comes up and MacGyvers and kills them off one by one, because they've met him on his turf. And it's great because of that. I think that what makes this action movie so enduring, and other ones that are kind of like this enduring, is that you get to see the character being clever and his own domain, and it makes you think, hey, that's really cool. I never thought to do something like that. Or they make use of their what's around them with like just common sense. Like there's a point where he's freezing. He goes up into this like cabin / it's sort of like a historical marker, and it's got flares through the ages and junk like that, and he smashes the glass and makes use of like the stuff, the climbing gear, whatever's there at his disposal, because he's actually thinking like, what do I do to survive?
Right. And totally MacGyver's it up.
And he MacGyver's it up, and it makes sense, and it's fun, and yes, it is Sly Stallone with his euro and kind of drooping accent and everything, but it still is great because you buy it. One, because like he's got the muscles that you'd expect for somebody who does climbing, and two, because the action is well paced. It doesn't slow down too much. I mean, you do need those breather moments. Like when he finds the cabin, he's in there, and he paces around for a little bit, and it's not like he just automatically jumps into it, but he doesn't sit there reflecting forever either. Like, yes, he does occasionally reflect on how he screwed up, and the lady at the very, very beginning dropped to her death, which that's not a spoiler. You see that in trailers and such.
First 5 minutes of the
film. It's like the first 5 minutes of the film. And you kind of get that idea from the trailers, too, that he's haunted by his past, where he let somebody important to him down. And because of how... I don't know how to say it, just like the whole timing of the film is great. I mean, it is a
really... it is a good, well put together film. I think that probably one of the things that makes it is just how beautifully shot it is.
Yeah, it's great cinematography too.
Like the cinematography is just incredible.
Sides and such there.
Directed by Mr. Gina Davis, Rennie Harlan.
Yeah,
who did Die Hard 2 and Long Kiss Goodnight, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So in Deep Blue Sea.
I was going to say, like, some really, just keep
some
on
really fun movies.
Off.
And Cutthroat Island. Oh, wait.
Right.
No, but yeah, just beautifully shot. And I think that really kind of puts everything together for the movie, is that you've got these beautiful scenes of Sly hanging off of rocks and things like that as he's climbing up.
Yeah.
And that's really, having, watched it the first time on a big screen, with just like, wow, this is just kind of immersive. Yeah. The way that it was shot. It was actually just very well done.
Great use of the environment there, too. It's not too much like green screening or whatever. You've got actual, even if it's like stunt actors and such, you've still got that sense of scale of like, whoa, this is like, you know, it's always kind of interesting when you don't have a monster, but you do have that same kind of feel you would as if there was a monster, because it's like this natural setting could kill you just by the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't always need a guy in a rubber suit smashing through things to make you say, wow, this is dangerous, I should get out of here. But
yeah, it does have that heightened sense of danger, just like the way that it's shot. Like, you really feel the impending thing, the way it's cut together. You're like, yes, there's something bad around that corner. Don't go around that corner, Yeah, I could definitely... I get where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, so if you don't already own it, you should, and... I gotta run out and grab it myself rather than just doing like a quick download of it. But it's great fun, and it should be in everybody's library, because I'm sure the DVDs and Blu-rays at this point have great extras on how they shot certain things and the way they did it. And it's, I don't know if they make action movies quite in the same style or quite as well as they used to. Not that I'm totally nostalgizing out, but just, it's like I said at the start of this, the longevity of certain action movies just isn't there. It's fun to watch them once in a while for camp factor, but I think Cliffhanger definitely is right in there with like the Die Hard type movie, where it may have like some old school looking hacking going on as they're breaking into the vault, but even that is like just quickly done. It's not like that's we're sitting here, we're getting on Funette.
That was an awful movie. Anyway.
It's like, hold on, we're getting online. Beer. Beep. Oh, crap, somebody picked up the phone. No. I don't know if that happened, but I can just imagine that. Anyway. All right, so what do you have for TGFV this week?
This week, in honor of the fictionalization of Philippe Petit's famous walk, The Walk, that's coming out with Maggie's brother.
Oh, yeah. Good thing we got a Gyllenhaal, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not a Gyllenhaal, it's that other guy.
It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
JGL.
Yeah,
who I love. But it's... it looks very cinematic and, will look great, I'm sure, on IMAX 3D.
I'm sure.
It's like almost like just from the shots that you see in the trailer of The Walk, I kind of want to watch it in IMAX 3D.
Yes.
Just so that I'm gripping onto my seat and trying not to fall.
Yeah.
But the film I'm recommending this week is Man on Wire.
I was going to say Man on Wire, isn't it?
Which is the true story. Actually based on Philippe Petit's book, To Reach the Clouds, which was then later retitled Man on Wire when it was released on paperback.
Yeah.
Man on Wire, of course, being the official, on the official police record, when he was arrested, it listed Man on Wire as his offense.
Yeah.
Which is just great. But basically, the story is that as a boy, Philippe Petit was sitting in a dentist's office and saw that they were building the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center towers, and saw that they were going to be built, and knew that he had to string a wire between them and walk between them.
Yeah.
That was like his entire purpose for being from that moment on. Like, learned how to tightrope walk, learned how to become like the most incredible tightrope walker of all time, just so that he could do this. And then hatched the most ingenious scheme once he finally realized that the towers were almost done. There was still a little construction going on. They were still finishing up. And he had to figure out a way to sneak tons of equipment, literally tons of equipment, up to the top of the towers, and then string a wire between them, and then walk across it without getting caught. And from the beginning, James Marsh, who directed it, said that he thought of it as a heist film. And it really, really feels... James Marsh went on to direct Theory of Everything, which probably everybody saw. But Man on Wire, just him, like it really plays that way. Like the way that he put it together, like it's a documentary and uses archival footage and all of that, and just kind of like in talking head interviews with all of the people that were in it, but just so suspenseful. Like you know what happens. It's on the cover. Like the one sheet is what ends up happening. Of course, he walks between the. That's how it ends. But actually, it doesn't quite end there. The denouement is a little depressing, but
it is.
But just the story of him walking for nearly an hour between the towers, and like every time they were like about to catch him, he was like, "Oh nope, I'm going to turn around and walk back this way," and just walking back and forth, and the amount of concentration and everything that it took to just not fall off,
not succumb to extreme vertigo.
Yes, it's just incredible. It's a fascinating story. And the first time I saw it, I was like, why did I not hear this story before? Why is this not, like, in my consciousness? Like, I mean, granted, it happened in 1974, slightly before I was born, so maybe that might have something to do with it, but there really should be, somewhere in the zeitgeist. I'm watching it, I'm like, why haven't there not been, like, a big budget movie made like this? And then I saw that The Walk was coming out, and I'm like, why are they making a big budget movie about this? Man on Wire already
came out. I saw it, and it was a great documentary.
It's so good. And that's what Dad said, was that he's like, why is this coming out? I saw Man on Wire.
Yeah.
Like, once you've seen Man on Wire, why do you need to see any other film about this?
Why do you need to see the fictionalized version when you can go out and see the documentary version of what actually happened.
You can find out what really happened.
Yeah.
It's just, the story is so amazing.
Yeah.
Of what actually happened when he was doing it.
Yeah,
and the way that he figured out
the way
how to
he
get
figured it out,
everything
the way he got the stuff up there. I'm like, yeah, you're talking tons of wire here, like literal tons of wire, because like that has to be a certain strength test,
right?
For it to be taut enough for them to walk across. Not to mention like the
pole,
the balancing pole that he uses to get up there.
Oh yeah.
Which I guess, yeah, he had to do it during the construction in order to kind of pass off, because nobody's just going to say, hey, what's with all that stuff?
Right.
But, yeah, it really does delve into it doesn't make it just a mystique thing. It really gives you an appreciation for the cleverness of what he had to go through in order to pull off this stunt. And it makes it just that much more mythical. And yeah, you're right. I don't see why it's not until recently that people are hearing about this and why they're making like this big screen phenomenal movie of that's supposed to have. I'll definitely go see it on big screen IMAX 3D just so I can clutch the edges of my seat and going, I'm gonna fall. But yeah, it's I don't get the point of remaking the movie when you can see the much awesomer reviewed version. And yeah, the denouement is kind of.
Yeah, a little depressing. But it's the story, and it's not just, the inspiring story of Philippe Petit finally like realizing his dream and doing this, but the story of the people around him and what they were thinking and the things that they were trying to get accomplished in order to help him realize his dream. Yeah. And help him. It's like they knew that this had to happen. It's like, sure, it's illegal, but it's not mean. This
isn't destruction of property. This isn't like graffitiing something. This isn't smashing windows, murder. It's breaking a few rules, but it's doing it. It's called the most artistic crime of all time. Yeah, it's just, and it really is. It's just where you get to, and they have the actual footage of him out there, like the original footage of him doing it, and you're just like, wow. You're just like, it's so inspired watching it, of like somebody actually out there and with nothing but this little wire that he's walking across, and you're like, man, just to the incredible amount of testicular fortitude that it takes to be able to be up there and to do that finally at the end of everything that he went through, that took so much courage and like will within himself. Okay, I kind of understand will within himself that he had to accomplish this. But then everybody around him went... there's the side story of everybody who we've got to help him. Yeah. This wasn't just somebody who went up with like a bow and arrow and a piece of rope and shot it across and hope for the best.
Like, but he had this whole crew of people that were helping him. And it was just because they knew that they had to help him. Yeah. It's like, we've got to do this.
It's like guys, I've got to do something. You've got to help me. And everybody on board saying, you're absolutely right. You need to walk between World Trade Center towers, and we're going to help you do it. We're going to pull off this incredible stunt. And
yes, they heard it and said, yes, that has to happen.
Yeah. It's just like, what great friends, huh? Just like, guys, I got to do this crazy thing. We're on board. Let's do it. Yeah, it's more than just a crazy college stunt. It's like, this needs like this
has to be done.
This has to be done. This has to happen.
And just because of the amount of work that they put into it, that they were feeling, it wasn't just like, oh, that sounds like fun, we should do that. It was, no.
It was a determination. We need to make this happen.
Yeah. It's an incredible story and an incredible film. Yeah. So well put together with the archival footage of like the actual things happening was just, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Man on Wire. If you haven't already seen it, you don't already own it, because it's just great. I mean, this is, there are a few times we could say a documentary you can come back to it. Like, it's still, I think, is as inspiring and as awesome to watch, and to watch a second or third time than it is the first.
And I chose it for my Thank God for Video, and I was telling Jamie that I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
I don't because I don't actually own it, much to my chagrin.
Yeah.
So I'm but if I have to buy it so that I can watch it, I will do that. And Jamie said, okay. But thankfully you don't have to. It is available streaming on Amazon Prime.
Oh, it's not on Netflix anymore?
I don't know if it's on Netflix.
It might have been pulled from it, but it is on Amazon Prime.
I do know that it is currently available on Amazon Prime.
Okay, so check that out. Check out Cliffhanger. Check out Man on Wire. Some great stuff. Time for movies that needed a rewrite. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes they need a little tweaking, but whatever the case, these are films that we feel could use a once-over, sometimes a dozen-over. Anyway, this week, Lunchbox is going to shoot for the moon. He's going to shoot something down, so what do you got?
Ironic you should say that.
Okay.
So, I'm bringing you a movie from writer Neil Cuthbert, who did Hocus Pocus and Mystery Men.
Okay.
And director Ron Underwood, who also did Tremors and City Slickers.
Okay.
Sounds good so far. Seriously, why is Adventures of Pluto Nash not a cult classic?
Because it was horrible. It was bad, terrible. I was paid to see Adventures of Pluto Nash back in the day. That was under the category of, oh heck no, you get to go watch that one. It's like, but yeah, 2 hours of my life gone. Yeah, okay, so I made $20 for sitting there watching a movie, but still.
Yeah. And that's kind of, it was funny. It had some funny moments.
Every bad movie,
Alec Baldwin's cameo, and that is hilarious.
Every movie has its moments, even Pluto Nash.
The story wasn't that bad. They front-loaded it. There is way too much story up at the beginning. The first 20 minutes is 5 films put together.
I was going to say, here's your plot exposition.
Yes, exactly. There's just too much story at the whole. I was reading one of the reviews on it. It's tells you, okay, so his friend gets in trouble and he ends up buying the club, ends up making the club this huge, incredible thing. That's the first 10 minutes. And then the gambling gets legalized, and so the people want to come in and tear down his club, but it's an incredibly successful club. He doesn't want to sell it, so he ends up getting chased by the mob who's trying to kill him because they're trying to take over his club. It's too much.
Yeah.
Simplify, guys.
The first reel of the film, it's just did you get all that?
Yeah. There's just too much. Just pare it back a bit. Simplify the story a bit.
Oh, and it all happens in space, too.
Yes,
whatever
on
reason.
The moon.
On the moon. For whatever reason.
Well, because it's set in the year 2087.
I know, but it's just you could, talking of scaling back, they could have saved so much money on the budget without.
Well, no, apparently not, because everything looks cheesy. It looks like, late 70s,
yeah.
80s, maybe? It looks like, Hollywood backlot they just drug out some sets to stand around in.
Yeah, really. But apparently it's one of those movies that the movie Producers was based on, where it's just they're just throwing money at this thing and not looking at what they have.
Yeah, it looked like it, and that's why everybody at the theater was like, no, you get to go see that one. It's because even from the trailers, it doesn't look like they spent any money on it.
Yeah.
It looks like cheesy, just cardboard sets.
Yeah.
And I think that was its biggest downfall, really.
You think they should have gotten more money into this thing?
I think that they should have actually made the story dumber.
Okay.
And spent more money on the special effects. I think that was the big problem there. They had a great cast.
Yeah, and they had workable directors and writers, too.
And directors and writers that knew what they were doing. The problem was that the writer put too much story in, should have pared that back, limited out. Tremors, they hardly explain what graboids are.
No, they're just they find them, they name them, they're giant worms that eat people from underneath the ground. It's boom, boom, boom.
And cult classic, boom.
Yeah, and instant cult classic.
Whereas Pluto Nash didn't get anywhere close to that.
No.
because it looked cheesy. It's set in space, which, granted, you were saying, of like, why do you need to set it in space? We could have set it in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you could have set this movie in Vegas.
You could have set it in Montana or whatever. You know, it could still be 2087, but, you know, at least make it look somewhat futuristic instead of looking like cardboard.
Yeah.
Like,
why does this thing look like the set of an MSD3K show?
Yeah, exactly. Really. And that's was why nobody wanted to see it, was because they saw the trailers and it looked
dumb.
Not
like funny haha dumb, but isn't just like, why does this even exist dumb?
Right, exactly. Just it looked dumb because the sets, the costuming just did not sell it at all.
Oh yeah, he had like this weird rhinestone kind of weird, like it's supposed to look futuristic, but it looks like somebody from the 70s.
It looks like 70s futuristic.
It looks like 70s
Somebody
future.
not knowing what they were doing. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that was the problem, is too much story. Which, you know, I've said that about a couple of films, but, you know, you don't think about that. Usually you're like, well, there was no storyline. Why does this movie exist? There's no story.
Yeah.
And
it takes 2 hours to not tell it.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many films like that. But I think that the ones that we remember as, like, the colossal failures fail because there's too much story packed in. Sometimes you need to pare it back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to make Twister.
Yeah, sometimes you need to make Twister. Sometimes you just need to, like, go balls to the wall, stupid, and say, like, okay,
stupid. It's
stupid.
a quick story.
Quick,
Here's
dirty,
your
and
idea.
stupid.
Here's what's happening. Let's go blow things up. You know?
Or have it get sucked up into a tornado. Newsflash, you'd be torn to shreds if you were in the middle of a funnel of a Twister.
The graboids are going to eat us. Okay.
Run. Run. Find rocks. Stay on solid ground. Don't make any noise. Simple.
Yeah,
simple plot. Simple characters. Yeah. By the end of it, they had like a cameo from John Cleese, I believe.
John Cleese, yeah.
Yeah, as like the talking car for whatever reason. They had Randy Quaid before he peed away his career, and as like some sort of weird dumb robot.
Yeah, he's a classic robot, yes.
And then, like, at the end, there was, like, he's paired up against himself because for some reason there was a clone made of him, and in the end it was, like, himself fighting against himself the whole time.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking at the time when I saw it, just, like, what the heck? Did they say something like that? Oh, I can't rewind it. I'm watching film. Thank God. But, like, I thought that I must have missed something early on because it was this plot element out of nowhere. It didn't even make sense in the dumb sense. It wasn't even hinted at anywhere. It wasn't even just... It was just sort of, oh, and he has a clone and that's the bad guy behind everything. The end.
Yeah.
And just...
Surprising twist.
Surprising twist. Yeah, that's just, like... surprising twist.
You've got to drop hints along the way.
You've got to drop hints along the way. You can't just sort of, surprise twist. Cinderella was an alien the whole time. It's just like, wait, where are you going with this? I missed something somewhere.
It was the old lady that died a third of the way through the film. She's the devil.
Yeah. Like, what? It's like...
Oh, you didn't see that one?
No, I saw it. I did not see Devil when I heard the plot for it, and it still sounds like a setup for
It's awful.
It sounds like a setup for a joke, okay? Yeah. 6 people get on an elevator. One of them's a devil. It's just like, you wait for the ba-doom and you... Yeah. And how does a movie like Pluto Nash just get off the ground and Tron 3 doesn't get made? It's like somewhere along the line... This always amazes me about films in Hollywood is that I am sitting there watching this, getting paid to watch it, and because nobody else wants to watch it. Your turn to verify, Stone. No. It gets onto celluloid. I mean, that's like just millions of dollars.
It actually
just
made this movie that stars famous people.
It stars
Joey
famous
Pants is in it. Just like some really great actors in it, and.
Did no one along the way just say, like, did Eddie Murphy not just stand up and like, oh, hold on, guys, what are we making? Just like, what if he would have just said, I'm out, just halfway through production? That would have been great,
They asked Eddie Murphy once what his favorite Eddie Murphy film was, and he said, I like all of them. I even like Pluto Nash.
So even he's aware. They got to have some self-awareness there. But, yeah.
So there's some awareness there.
There's some awareness. Anyway, I guess we'll move on to my rewrite.
Yep. And for the record, I like Pluto Nash.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No.
But it's cheesy cult film good.
If you say so. I'll take your word on.
You haven't watched it again, have you?
I have not watched it since I was paid to see it a while ago in the theaters, and it's just, I remember it well enough that I'm not going to go see it again. Ever.
Watch it again, it'll grow on you. Like a fungus.
Like a fungus. Yeah. Actually, so my rewrite this week. Horrible segue. Moving on as fast as possible. My is Cliffhanger, only not Cliffhanger. It's Daylight, starring Sly Stallone as a former emergency response worker who's gone into retirement and resigned because of some horrible past where he's lost someone. It's basically like you do. It is like Cliffhanger.
Apparently, again. Like he does.
Like he does. It's like two movies with the same basic kind of character. Only the problem here is the numerous problems. You got, first, what happens is there's some sort of chase between criminals who've robbed somewhere, and there's also some kind of side thing where people are transporting hazardous explosive materials through the tunnel, the Brooklyn Tunnel or whatever. Not the Brooklyn Tunnel. They're transporting them through some famous tunnel in New York.
It's the tunnel between New York and New Jersey.
Yeah.
What's that called?
We'll just call it the Jersey Tunnel. The Jersey Tunnel. And
there's a name for it. You should have looked this up.
I should have looked this up, and I knew it off the top of my head just a few minutes ago. Anyway,
and then I started talking about Pluto Nash.
And then you started, and all smart things just went right out of my head, including my smart commentary. No, yeah. So you've got these side plots that build up, and there's a crash because the people getting chased crash into the explosive material, as one does, and boom, there's a bunch of people blocked off in the tunnel. Hundreds of people die, except for your small band of protagonists. I won't say heroes in this case. One of which is actually Viggo Mortensen, starring as kind of a Bear Grylls survivalist type guy. So, naturally, that means he's the arrogant guy who gets offed first, which happens. You can see coming a mile away. Like you do. But anyway, the problems. It's a slow build up to disaster. You've got stuff that's supposed to build tension, and it doesn't, because it just takes too long. The pacing isn't there. And the disaster wasn't impending enough. You know, when they get in there, they face the sudden challenge of, the tunnel starts flooding. And I get it, the water's rising, but the water wasn't rising fast enough. It didn't seem like a real imposing threat until the last 10 minutes of the film. Oh my gosh, it's rising, we got to get out of it. Now,
well, what do you expect from the writer of Dante's Peak?
I was okay with Dante's Peak because it had a little bit more scientific accuracy to it. Minus the grandma just suddenly dying and the dog living.
And the dog living.
The dog living for old... Anyway, but yeah. Say what you will about the original Poseidon Adventure, but the original one starring Gene Hackman.
I have many things to say about it.
Yeah, and Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Roddy McDowell. It was cheesy, and it had uneven acting, we'll put it that way. But it still had good pacing, and it still left you feeling claustrophobic, and that they were trying to escape impending danger of, drowning. Because there was constantly something happening. They would constantly cut away to the ship having, engine explosions and then sinking further and shaking. Somebody might die from it shaking and such. But
it was nominated for sound effects editing.
Oh, for the Poseidon Adventure?
Not Poseidon Adventure, the Daylight.
Daylight, okay. Well, I could see that, too. They did have good sound there. But anyway, Poseidon Adventure did a great job of selling you that the water is an impending danger. Daylight... Like I said, it takes the last 10 minutes. You're sitting there waiting for something to happen, and when it does, it's over so quickly that there's no chance for you to have any sense of real tension. There's no build-up. There's no investment in, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? It's just, boom! And all of a sudden, the one character who was standing on the car, the weight shifted, and now he's dead. Or paralyzed and eventually left to die. Because you have to move on. You have to get them to Daylight John, or whatever his name is. Insert generic character name here.
Actually, it's Kit.
Kit? Okay.
Kit Latura.
Kit Latour was his name in it?
Yep.
Okay, Kit. It may as well have been John, but it was just... but, you know, he's the guy, the guy who knows what to do to get out of there, but he doesn't feel, as for a parallel here, doesn't feel as clever as he was in Cliffhanger. He wasn't that guy who made use of his environment and who made use of his knowledge. He was, you know...
Yeah. Generic action star?
He was generic action star, which happens sometimes with action stars, but he wasn't the clever guy in the tough environment figuring things out. I mean, they squished the clever guy who's supposed to know his way out. Right. And there was some good moments where it's like he's showing, no, I know what I'm talking about. We got to go this way and do this. It sounds crazy, but here's how it goes. But, you know, you don't buy it as much. You don't feel the conviction there, if that makes sense. It's just, again, a matter of pacing. And I think a lot of it does come down to the water. It just never felt urgent. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to drown, we got to move. Got to drown, we're going to drown, we got to move. And for a cheesy movie in the 70s, Poseidon Adventure did a much better job of that. And Cliffhanger did a much better job of selling me the idea of this is a guy who needs to make use of the environment, and he can do it because he knows what to do. Anyway, when it opened, it pretty much tanked because it had this huge budget of like $80 million. Yeah, and only made like $10 million the opening weekend, and it opened in December, which you'd think would be
just for an action movie. No, not
well, if you're getting into the Christmas season, people are taking time off work. But action movies typically come out in the summertime, but still, you think it would do some good. But yeah, okay, you got Viggo Mortensen in it, you've got Sly Stallone in the lead role, and a cast of, like, side characters that, you know, the character actors that popped up in other things, like J.O. Sand. I know I've seen him in several things. And I just want to say, directed by Rob Cohen, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it did Triple X.
Yeah. So it's not like there are people...
Fast and Furious.
It's not like there are people here who are unfamiliar with how to pace an action movie.
Right.
So it is just weird. And I'm not sure if that's the writer's fault, because he... as you said, Dante's Peak writer. He just didn't pace this. She?
Leslie.
Leslie? Les. That's what I'm thinking of. Les, not Leslie. But Leslie. Okay, she doesn't know how to pace an action film. Sorry. A little too slow. Sorry, scrolling through the IMDb page as we talk, and it's... Thank you, Lunchbox, for that trivia. It comes down to pacing. I don't know. Not that the dialogue was bad, it's just that it was slow. And I don't know either whether it was supposed to be a disaster.
Leslie is the guy. Sorry, my bad.
It was Leslie. I was right. See? It's like I've heard it both ways. It's like Carol.
Yeah.
Carol you think of as a woman's name, but like there are male older...
It's like Shannon.
Yeah. Basically. Anywho, I can't think of anything else to say about Daylight. It had a great poster.
Yeah, it's a cool poster.
Nice poster.
Yeah, I like the poster.
But you know what? Just like thinking about it, that would have been kind of cool too if you like see day coming and they constantly are trying to chase after it, but something crumbles or falls in the way and they gotta find a new route. That would have been kind of cool. But yeah. Thoughts? Or it's been a while since you've seen it.
That's why I only watched it the once.
That was one of your only watches.
That was that's the one time, and I don't think that one demands a rewatch.
I don't know. I rewatch some of these films that are action-y that I know just aren't any good. I'm just like, at the core, like, what the heck happened? It's like, I watch it...
I wouldn't rewatch the core.
No, I wouldn't rewatch the core. I still do, though, because I'm a glutton for punishment. But, yeah, it just...
Because I needed a nap?
I actually have fallen asleep to the core a couple times because you needed something that's just... There's another movie with horrible pacing issues. Something action is going to happen. No, wait 20 minutes. I swear it's going to happen.
Horrible science issues.
Horrible science issues. We're going to nuke the core. All right. You want me to hack the planet? Yeah, anyway, that was a different rewrite. Yeah. Alrighty. And now, time for Strained Metaphors with Lunchbox.
So this week I went to, actually, the quote that closes Man on Wire. which just incredible movie once again.
Yeah.
But from Philippe Petit, life should be lived on the edge of life. You have to exercise rebellion, to refuse to tape yourself to rules, to refuse your own success, to refuse to repeat yourself, to see every day, every year, every idea as a true challenge, and then you are going to live your life on a tightrope. Just a beautiful quote, which I love, of just pushing yourself to not rely on past successes. Not just say, hey, remember when I did that? Wasn't that awesome? Of not, saying that I've done something and so I don't need to do more things. But it's more than that for me. It's like sometimes you don't personally feel that there's that thing that you need to do. You don't need to walk on a high wire between the World Trade Centers. You don't need to do this one magnificent thing. What I want to say is, it's okay if you don't have that thing. But if your friend says, I need to walk between the World Trade Center on a high wire, you say, that is a thing that needs to be done. And you make it happen.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have a thing, make sure that if your friend has a thing, make sure that happens.
Well, and thank you for making our podcast happen, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you all next time on the One More Rewrite podcast. For Lunchbox,
Night.
I'm Jester. Toodaloo.